I content myself with quoting the well-known passage from Dicey's Law of the Constitution, 9th edition, page 193, where he says, every official, and I'm going to put this in the chat, every official from the Prime Minister down to a constable or collector of taxes is under the same responsibility for every act done without legal justification as any other citizen. The reports abound with cases in which officials have been brought before the courts and made, in their professional capacity, liable to punishment or to the payment of damages for for acts done in their official character, but in excess of their lawful authority. A colonel, governor, a secretary of state, a military officer, and all subordinates, though carrying out the commands of their official superiors, are as responsible for any act which the law does not authorize as is any private and unofficial citizen. So this is something to keep in mind when you have somebody sitting in any official capacity, and this goes back to our good friend Omar Algebra, okay? And Lametti and Mendocino and Blair and Trudeau. Well, here you go. It doesn't matter who you are. You don't have indemnification when you're acting in excess of your role. And furthermore than that, there's also the English Bill of Rights, where it says basically the act of removing or creating law under regal authority is illegal, and regal authority being acting as a monarch.
Also important to add there is, let's say you take a regulation that requires the school or the store owner or whatever to require masks. When you read that, you still have to read into it the rights, even if it doesn't adhere to it. So the way it gets implemented at the end of the day has to be with regard to the implied presence of the rights. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, so, because some people will say, well, look, the law says we have to do that, so we have to do that. But that's not how it works. When you have rights, they have to implicitly read the right into it. So they can have some kind of goofy mask policy, but they can't force you because the rights prohibit them from forcing you, because you have the right to informed consent. Same with facts. And therefore, what you're saying there, they're still acting in excess of the law if they're forcing.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Like, because a lot of people just, look at the narrow view of it. They just look at the bylaw itself and say that they're following the law, they're obeying the law, but they're not, because it goes beyond that. Like, you have to imply the content of the rights when you read. You have to read it into them. That's the one charter one that I won.
Yeah.
The judge agreed. You have to imply the rights.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Can I read you? Am I muted? Or...
No, you're good. We can hear you.
Can I read you the? They've amended their mask webpage after several emails from angry parents, including myself. And under the section, they have a section now. Is it legal for the OCDSB to put this order in place if it is not required from the province or local health authority? And it says the authority is rooted in our statutory obligation under the Education Act to promote student well-being, which is obviously arguable because they're doing more harm than good. The duty of principals to take assiduous care of the health of students, and our obligations under the Occupational Health and Safety Act take all reasonable measures to protect the safety of workers. Mm-hmm. There may be some limits on the extent of our authority to enforce this requirement. For this reason, suspension or expulsion will not be used in enforcing the masking requirements. So they've addressed this because, clearly, a lot of people are questioning their legal authority to do this. So they're placing it under a health risk,
Mm-hmm.
which is unfounded.
Exactly. They're saying exactly. They're claiming that they're protecting people by forcing people into wearing a mask and forcing them into a vaccine.
And this worries me. I want to avoid this actually in my lawsuit because, how are you've pointed out in previous cases that once you start bringing science into it, it starts getting expensive, and they'll have their side of the science, and we'll have our side of the science, and
it's unnecessary also when you're asserting your rights, because you just have to show that the rights are violated. You don't have to have a discussion about whether there's a good enough reason to violate them or not.
Good, yeah. So
it's a slippery slope when you get into that, because as we've seen with the Church of God, the court said we don't have any interest in analyzing the scientific and medical material that Hildebrand was presenting. So therefore, we're just going to rely on our public officials.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's comforting, Jane, that I can disregard their reasoning behind it and just sue them based on the harm done to my dog.
Yeah, harm done. Yeah, violation of right is definitely harm done. So you have privacy, informed consent, and also the right to be treated equally and protected equally by the law. It violates all of that.
So I was just going to say, my opinion, Scott, whatever you do, don't even make mention of the science. If you don't open the door, they can't respond to it. Yeah. So if you're doing it, stick to point of law, stick to the rights that are being violated, and just keep it simple.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah, I appreciate Mike's perspective as well, though, and he has, it's potentially a smaller town, and he has a bit more clout of trying to convince them as individuals, but I don't think that applies here. So, and certainly not if I'm, entering courts in this case. So I agree with you. So, yeah, I would like to promote this group and get more parents following suit. Really, Rebecca, you mentioned converting my letter. Notice of liability to kind of a template form. Do you want to comment on that?
Yeah, actually, I'm just putting your Facebook in here. And also, reminder that Scott is hosting a meeting on Monday, May 8th. You want to talk about that meeting, Scott?
Oh, it's just we've got, as I mentioned, 45 parents and caregivers in the group now. So it's just a chance to have this kind of dialogue with those people in there and understand, for them to better understand, my angle on this and the legalities, and hopefully we will have a template ready for them to kind of latch onto and follow suit, because I'm only suing my trustee. There's 12 of them, so hopefully people follow suit and we'll get a lot more lawsuits going simultaneously.
Did you send that consent form for the mask?
Oh shit! Hold on 1 second. Scott, no, I didn't. But you know what? I'm going to put it in the chat right now. Sorry about that, Scott. And then we talked about it, and then I forgot. But yes, Scott also has I'm going to do two things, actually. I'm going to put in the mask mandate document that we have. And it's a mask consent document. Sorry, not a mask mandate. I'm trying to multitask. I'm not very good at that. But basically what this document is, it's a list of the regulations and requirements for mask usage, meaning, for example, they need to check the oxygen levels of the room. They need to test the CO2 levels of the person wearing the mask. They need to do a fit test, because, you will hear people say, well, medical professionals wear a mask. Well, they don't every day. They don't wear them all day long. That is absolutely not true. And they do all these things.
They do the fit testing.
Yes.
They do the oxygen in the room testing.
And our children have tiny lungs. They have a lot more difficulty, breathing through these things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
It interferes with social development also.
No, it interferes with a lot of things.
So I hope enough. I hope more people stand up with us. I'm happy to set precedents and appreciate your appreciation. But yeah, like I said, it made me sick to my stomach to hear that they were doing this, and I'm done. I'm done. I'm still protesting, and I will stand with my flag. But I think in my protests, because I go downtown every weekend to Parliament Hill in Ottawa, and I spoke to a lot of people, finding out what happened to them and why they were protesting. But I think my role is shifting into more of a information providing role to educate people about this part of it, because let them know that they can become trustees, because I think there's a lot of freedom fighters that could potentially have a political future, that are well suited for the role, and if they have the drive and the heart and the fire to do it, Mike and sorry, I forget her name.
Gada. Her name is Gada. Yeah.
Inagata Davida.
I haven't heard that in a long time.
Yeah. That's before the Daves I know.
It's true.
Yeah.
Dating. Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of opportunity there, and I see it in Australia. There's people that have quit the police force because of the situation, and they're running for office now. So it would be great to see more of that in Ottawa. I find it personally difficult. I would be happy to go for a trustee position and actually represent a community that I actually care about, and not, treat it like a political advancement for financial gain, like what it seems to be the case, especially with the trustee I'm suing, Justine Bell. She's horrible. Yeah, but I have a full-time job. I have kids. My life is full. I just it's not my path right now, but who knows in the future?
Mm-hmm. You never know.
But maybe for someone else.
Actually, the group that you've started there would be about the right size. If one person wanted to go forward, then you have a team to promote them, go door to door, as Gada was saying. Even if you don't have the resources to match the other candidates, if you get out door to door, that's the best avenue of name recognition and creating confidence. And in Ottawa, I don't remember the last election, but I remember one election, only 30% voted of the population. So if you get out door to door, and you'll find all the people that are pissed off about the mask mandates and this and that. And I think it's got a real, and if nothing else, if you're running as a candidate, you're allowed to go to door, like they have to let you in apartment buildings, for example, and you get to go to door, and you can't do that normally.